Good morning, everyone. Francie, Broken Justice, good morning. I hope we both had a wonderful week. Thank you for being here. Hope the weather is cooperating wherever you are today and whatever you may have to do. It's a bit outside. It is a blistery 31 degrees here this morning, right now, mostly cloudy, but it's pretty typical weather for the area that I live in. Good morning, Interpeas. Welcome to this morning's Page 2 News, the first full broadcast of Page 2 News, formerly known as Coffee Brew. It is now known as Page 2 News. Thank you for dropping the link to Interpeas. Thank you, Interpeas, for dropping the link to Broken Justice's YouTube channel. Truly hope to see more content, posted to her channel soon. Sprinkled Donut, good morning and welcome to this morning's Page 2 News. You will notice as we go through this morning, there have been some artistic changes you may notice. Let's start with right now. In the comments section, if you see the actual icon that is next to my name, to a post that it's now looks kind of like a stop sign, a European stop sign or warning sign, a red circle with a giant 411 and a lower little now in the bottom. That is the first artistic change. Is the actual icon that I used that's next to my name. Now, I'll give you an example of it again. I'll just type the word hello. You'll see that it's white background 411 now is different. It used to be Lady Justice. But it doesn't show up all that well in the tiny little icon next to a name. So that is one of the changes that you'll see right away. Additionally, in today's stream, Page 2 News, you'll notice that there are new features that have been added that haven't been in previous Saturday morning streams. I'm hoping that people will enjoy them and interact with them as well. But these are being added for additional content and because they've been requested, actually. Scrolling up here. Good morning, Kitty Q. And Kitty Q has changed her icon as well. Is that Tom? As in from Tom and Jerry? Looks like from, at least from here. Kind of hard to see. I've got a lot of lights that are in my face right now. So yep. Remember to hit the thumbs up and be on all messages. Yes, and very important. Make sure you're at the top of the comments section. It says all, not top chat, because that way you see the actual messages as they come in, and not it won't be on a 2 to 3 minute delay where the messages then come to look like they're coming in order. You'll get them out of order if you're on on top chat versus all. Yes, it's Tom. Well, it goes with the kitty coo. I only had a pen and sketched it while waiting for your husband at the VA. Oh, cool! You drew it yourself. I have to go. Speaking of the VA, Kitty Q, I have to go next Wednesday. It's just a routine checkup. It's part of my annual. I have to go get blood work done, and such. The cholesterol, blood workup. I'll be in and out. I don't have to go to the actual full. We have what they call satellite clinics here. And oddly enough, they put one of them in what we call the federal building. Now, why do we call it the federal building? It's called the federal building because it houses nothing but federal bureaus of the different branches of the government. There's the FBI's there, Homeland Security, ISIS is in there. The federal court rooms and judges and stuff like that are in there. They mainly deal with pedophilia, internet stuff, and bankruptcy cases. That's about 90% of what they do there in that courtroom. But oddly enough, though, they put a VA clinic there on the 6th floor. You have to go through security and everything else to get into the building. They got the giant concrete barriers out in front of it, to make sure that we don't have another Timothy McVeigh, situation. But then you take the elevator to the 6th floor, and then you walk down a corridor. I swear it's got to be the length of a football field before you actually get to the VA clinic there. And it's just this little tiny little waiting room. You got maybe like 4 chairs, and then there's like 3 little examination rooms. But good morning, Gayla. Welcome to this morning's page 2 news. Kind of like the Chuck Woolery. We'll be back in 2 and 2. But this is page 2 news, formerly known as Coffee Brew. This is the first episode, and it will be called page 2 news going forward. So if you don't notice or recognize the icon or the name, that's because it used to be called Coffee Brew, but it's now called page 2 news. And we'll get into a little bit of reason why, I changed it in case you weren't here last week or the week before. It's cold where you are, Interpeas? Well, it's a blistering 31 degrees here and mostly cloudy, 31. So it's below the freezing point. I mean, my thermometer is plus or minus 2 degrees. It actually reads a little bit colder if there's wind, but it says that there's only a 2-mile-an-hour wind. Because I have a scroll, you guys can't see it, it's at the bottom of my in the taskbar. All right, well, let's get this morning's page 2 going. This is episode 230 in page 2 news. So if you technically it would be episode number 1 of page 2, but it's the 230th episode of the Saturday morning recap show. Again, before we start, keep this in mind before we start. Once the national news in the U.S. became a profitable division of media companies, the national news became less about the news and more about stroking the egos of the audience. Edward R. Murrow said this on January 3rd, 1958. So if for those who thought that I've had this as part of the stream for a while, but I didn't give proper credit to Edward R. Murrow. Again, he said that January 3rd, 1958. It is more true today than it ever has been, especially after the presidential election and leading up to the presidential election. They stroke your ego and they don't tell you the entire story. They only give you part of it. Good morning, Mike Stevens. Hamadol Trump. To each their own. It's 56 degrees where Kitty Q is right now. I'd rather it be 56 degrees here. Today we're looking at a high of 51. Free Richard Allen. Oh, Mike. So, anyways, but he said that Richard R. Murrow said this in 1958, and here we are in the year 2024. If you don't realize, that every media outlet out there is stroking your ego and only telling you what they want to tell you because that's what their audience is looking for, I really don't know what to tell you. What is Page Two News, and why did I change the name to Page Two from Coffee Brew? This is a series and a Saturday morning live stream dedicated to uncovering and underreported or overlooked crime stories from across the U.S. These stories often go ignored by larger creators due to their lack of sensational drama or sound bites, despite their significance. And yes, it says in the first part right there, this is a series and a Saturday morning live stream because I'm planning to in the probably after the new year to adding actual videos that are in on top of the Saturday morning stream that are also part of the Page Two News. So it'll be videos and live stream after the new year, most likely. Why? Because I'm busy. That's why it'll be after the new year. First case that I want to review is out of the state of Texas. A father who was sitting in his garage with the garage door open, handing out candy at Halloween, was gunned down by an adult wearing a Michael Myers costume. Michael Myers is the main character in the Halloween Fright franchise. New evidence is pointing to such. Oh, went too far there. Click the double click, and there we go. As the father was shot and killed in his garage, there were two minor children who were asleep inside the home. The youngest, so there's three total minor children. This was just an infant who was staying with family members. So of the two were in the house, and one was at a family member's house. Police have been speaking with the neighbors and have gathered some very good leads. No arrests yet have been made. The link you see there in blue is from the New York Post, but has also been widely reported in different news stations and newspapers out of the state of Texas where this took place. But in review and trying to put this one on today's Page Two News, I found a lot of information that I cannot figure out where they got it from. Either one or two news outlets have an inside source with the police department, and that's what they're reporting is other information that is unknown to the general public, or they were kind of stretching the truth. And I'm leaning towards the second half of it, that they're stretching the truth about what they actually knew. But either way, this father was shot and killed as he handed out candy. Do they know if it's a man or a woman? At this point, the law enforcement in the area is not saying if it's a man or woman, nor did any of the other articles that I was able to find online pointed to it was either a man or a woman. The individual is reported right around 5'7", 5'8" in height, and was wearing the entire costume, the jumpsuit and the mask and the fake hair. So it's kind of hard to tell from the actual ring camera footage from a neighbor who lived across the street. And yes, law enforcement does have that video, along with they do have additional leads that they gathered from other neighbors in the neighborhood. So they're closing in on the actual person who is responsible for it. Okay, next one is killed by misfits. New information has been revealed about the case of the two Kansas women who were murdered by a group of that refers to themselves as God's misfits. We now know that Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly both were murdered and suffered greatly before being stuffed into a freezer. This was all allegedly done to get them out of the way in the matter of a custody case involving minor children. According to the OBSI, 5 suspects are still awaiting trial and formal charges. The 5 suspects in this case have all been arrested, but they have not all been given the same charges. There are other charges that are still pending, but none of them have gone to trial yet. You can click on the link there in blue out of the Oklahoma, I think it's the News Gazette, but you can read more about it. Again, they were both murdered, stuffed into a freezer, and just to get them out of the way. because they were causing trouble for this family in the custody dispute. Truly wonder how about the glit of RZ. The only thing I don't get is why he confessed to so many times. Yeah. Inner P is going with George Strait. All my exes live in Texas. False confession from abuse, says Mike. Oh, Mike, there's a lot of information that really puts them there and connected to the case. But we shall see. At this point, Richard Allen is presumed innocent until proven guilty, even if in the court of public opinion, people are ready to string him up from the tree next to where the girls were murdered. He is presumed innocent. All right, next one is Michael Diargo. Does he look familiar to everybody? He should, if you've been watching this channel for a while. Michael is back in the news. He last appeared on this channel back in 2022 underneath Stupid Criminals and for a series of public intoxication charges. Well, now he's stepped up his criminal game. He has now been arrested and is being held without bond on charges. He drugged and raped. That's hard R. I cannot put that in actual words on the screen because YouTube will demonetize the content. So now that you know what I said, what it is, all right, 8 or 9 women, and one of them has since died of the attack and the drugging. He got away with the public intoxication. He took an offered plea on it all. And the offered plea said, if you keep your nose clean for 2 years, we'll drop these public intoxication charges against you. And he did. He successfully completed the restitution, paid his court fines, and kept his nose clean for 2 years. So now the public intoxication charges that he had for his stupidity have been removed from his record as if they were never there. Of course, if you search through the FBI, or the database, you still see that he was arrested, and you can see it on the other, cases as well. Arrest, but there's no actual conviction on any of it. But anyways, law enforcement is in fact looking at unsolved crimes that matches MO, which is modus of operandi, going back to 1999 for cold cases of where these women were drugged and then hard R, or in cases in that area that he may be a person of interest in. Law enforcement at this point is refusing to say much more than that, releasing only his public photo, his photo, and asking the public if they know him, dated him, or did business with him. Why they're asking if anybody did business with him is kind of curious. It's like, okay, I can understand. Did you date this man? Do you know this man? But why did they specifically say, did you do business with him? Because the type of field of employment that Michael was in wouldn't necessarily put him in a position where he would have been someone of trust, but it could have given him access to, additional victims. So I can understand why they put it in there. The link you see in blue there is from CNN, and it's almost word for word for exactly what is on Fox News. One of them copied the other, and they were posted less than 2 minutes apart, but they're almost word for word. So it's not just that CNN is biased or Fox News is biased, but one of them definitely copied the other, but I just don't know which one did. Because they both could have posted it and said, hey, look, this other article on CNN or Fox is better. Let's just copy that and paste that into ours instead. And a lot of news agencies do that. Got to fill something in here on page, 3, of the paper. We have to have something in on the ink blotter tonight. So, hey, why don't we just copy what, over on San Antonio's news site. All right, now we're going to Oklahoma, to Gary, Oklahoma, to be exact. Former police chief Alicia Ford explained why the entire police department all resigned and walked out, placing their badges in their on the desk of the current chief of police. The entire incident came to an explosive and decisive end this past week when all of their efforts to get the city managers to do anything to support the officers' safety and well-being, issues came to an abrupt end. The city managers, on several occasions, they brought this to them, but they just weren't able to, according to the city managers, able to budge. They told them that they just couldn't afford what they wanted, yet they've paid for several pet projects over the last couple of years, money that these officers desperately said that they needed for their well-being and safety, for equipment and stuff like that. Excuse me. All right. In addition, soon after the officers resigned, the 4 remaining officers all put in their notices that they plan to retire early as January 1st. The chief of police reached out to the city manager and let them know what was happening and was unable to get any movement forward. He then himself resigned from the police department, so now leaving 4 officers with no senior management or anything. Oddly, hours later, the city of Geary was able to contract out with the Oklahoma City, Blaine, and Canadian County Sheriff's officers to replace all the officers that they didn't have the money to pay, for safety equipment and for their well-being, for double the rate they were paying their officers. So, of the 9 officers who were on the force, counting the chief of police in Geary, Oklahoma, that all resigned or remained. Again, they put in their notices for early retirement as soon as January 1st. They couldn't come up with the money to pay them, but now it is costing them double the amount because they've replaced them with officers from Oklahoma City, Blaine, and the Canadian County Sheriff's Department. There, you will see 2 different articles there, one for Fox News and one for KOSU Channel 5 News. And you can read about it and learn a little bit more. I will point out that there is more factual evidence, if you want to call it that, than speculation in the Fox article, but the Fox article is pretty short. You sound like you have sugar in your gas tank. Well, thank you, Cry, for the super chat. I appreciate that. I don't know why I would have sugar in my gas tank though. But I know people who've done that in the past to their exes, and apparently it really screws up a car. But the same thing with mothballs. But don't do that to anybody who's listening to me. Don't put mothballs or sugar in someone's gas tank. All right, next one. You're going to end up like Gabby Petito. Adam Fravel threatened Madeline Kingsbury with that exact sentence in a text message. Now Madeline is dead. Next to no one is talking about it like Gabby Petito. Why? I ask you, why? Madeline was an influencer like Gabby. She was 26, which is close to Gabby's age. Her boyfriend was a controlling jerk who may have been physically abusive to her, like Brian Laundrie. Doing a Google search, not a good search, it should be Google. 13% of all national news outlets have covered Madeline's murder in the week since it was discovered. Compare that to Gabby Petito's coverage of 97.5. They're both white. They both hail from the same background. They both were interested in the same things. They both were influencers, but nobody is talking about, Madeline's murder. Oh, did I forget to tell you that Brian Laundrie's parents are pieces of excrement as well? And if they interjected themselves into the relationship and the investigation, just like Brian's parents did. You can click on the article from People magazine, which is a shorter article of all the ones out there, but it's still a decent report and give you information about it on Madeline. Next is an update. That is not the actual lady involved in this situation. That is a stock photo. But Tiffany Zhang has now been arrested and charged with first degree homicide and abuse of a corpse. The DA in the case said more charges are pending. In case you don't remember this, this is an update. Initially, when they did a flyover drone footage of the property, they found 3 or 4 different places in the yard that looked like something had either been buried or somebody tried to bury someone or something in the yard. Well, when the law enforcement initially showed up at Tiffany Zhang's house, she told them her mother was dead and in the backyard. So when they went around to the backyard before the drone, there her mother was laying out on the ground and was dead. In fact, and there was no saving her. She had been dead for quite a while. Rigor mortis had already set in, and it was starting to actually fade away. So that doesn't happen until either a day in some cases, or depending upon the temperature, it could be even longer. But her mother was dead in the backyard, and they had a very tumultuous relationship, to say the least. But Tiffany Zhang didn't care. She just sat there on the front porch when the law enforcement confronted her about her mother being dead and why she was in the backyard. She came up with several different stories, and I don't believe any of them, on why her mother was dead, laid out in the backyard. Again, this is from Monterey County, Maryland. Oh, geez, I can actually speak. I can. But again, the DA said the additional charges are pending, in this case, but they are holding her on 2 counts right now: abuse of a corpse and first-degree homicide, murder, if you will. But in Maryland, they hold you on homicide. Is the booking, how it's booked. Yeah, it's murder, homicide, same thing. But the additional charges that may be coming besides the abuse of a corpse is the police department didn't come out and say it, but they believe that Tiffany may have tried to bury her at least twice in the backyard and was trying to, hide the case. And so she may be looking at destruction of evidence charges and, everything else on top of it all. But she just did not care. There is a small little chest cam footage, from one of the officers you can see, or her just sitting there and just so nonchalantly talking about, yeah, my mom's dead. She's in the backyard. Don't care. It's frightening as hell. I don't know if anybody's posted that actual police footage online. I highly doubt like Code Blue Cam, will have it, but there's a chance that maybe a Donut Operator or one of the other channels that do raw police footages, maybe one of them will have it, because there's going to be like parts of it that are going to be redacted regardless of whoever posts it, if it ends up on YouTube at all, because it's just the way YouTube is, and there's censorship, of certain content. You can't say certain things, you can't talk about certain things. I don't care what they call it, it's censorship. But it's their platform and their sandbox, and they can make the rules that they want. Oh, next is Serial Killer Corner. This is a new feature that I'm adding to every Saturday morning, page 2 news. Serial Killer Corner. You will die to get away. Good news, everyone. According to the FBI, serial killer numbers are dropping again. They've seen a year-over-year drop with a spike during the COVID-19 closure and social distancing. Right? Get that. That's an actual fact. Homicide across the board in the United States, from East Coast to West Coast, while everything was closed and everybody was out of work and we were at home and we were supposed to be social distancing from each other, homicide rates went up. Well, yeah, if you lock someone inside of a house with someone who's abusive to them, the homicide rate's going to go up. But why were people going out and meeting serial killers in a situation, or putting themselves in a situation where they could? But again, I digress. The FBI says They just haven't become aware of any new events or increased numbers associated with serial killers. I asked the question, maybe the killers are just getting better at getting rid of bodies. Maybe that's why the FBI hasn't found them, any new information. They're not dumping them alongside the highway anymore, or in an open field. Maybe they're actually taking the time to bury them elsewhere or get rid of the bodies elsewhere. All right, that's the good news. All right, bad news. There is very little. There is also very well maybe a serial killer on the loose who is hunting women in the Colorado and Boulder area in Denver. In addition to another set of unsolved murders along Interstate Highway I-10 in El Paso. That should not be 110, should be I-10 in Texas. All right, now for the Colorado cases out of Boulder and Denver. These are of indigenous women. There are a total of 21 indigenous women from in and around the Boulder and Denver, Colorado area that have vanished over the course of the last 5 years. 21. And no one is really connecting the dots, but they're all from about the same area, same age, demographics, so they all match a certain body type. But the FBI is not saying, or neither is local law enforcement, if they believe a serial killer is involved, but it's got all the earmarks that there's possibly someone from either inside their community that is hunting them, or someone from outside the community is hunting them and is doing away with them. Again, 21 are missing from the Boulder and Denver, Colorado area over the last 5 years. Now to El Paso, Texas, and I-10, the freeway system that comes in there. A total of 17 women, all who were, drug addicts, prostitutes, are all missing from in and around that area. 17. And again, the last 5 years. A former chief of police and a former Texas Ranger has noted that and said in an interview that he believes strongly that a serial killer has been working in and around the El Paso area and that freeway, and did not go into detail on what off ramps coming into El Paso or what exact area, but he believed that a serial killer is definitely hunting there. Now, since he actually made the initial statement that he believed that there was a serial killer that's responsible for the 17 women who have disappeared in that area, he has since kind of retracted that because they forced him to, but he's no longer the sheriff anymore or a Texas Ranger. He has since retired, and from what I was able to gather online, he has moved to the state of Ohio from Texas. I thought everything was bigger and better in Texas, and that's where everybody wanted to be. But he moved to Ohio. Maybe he likes the snow. I don't know why. But anyways, the link that is there is about the serial killer numbers for the last couple of years. This is from Northeastern News. It's an educational article. It has nothing to do with the serial killers in Denver or El Paso, but you can click on it and read it because it's a very interesting article on all the same. Okay, it's now time for stupid sports and weather news from around the world. All of these are 100% real, but they make you wonder why people really are taking part in this and why people are risking their lives to do it, especially in the weather that is related to them. First one, weather fun. About the tornadoes, and the government controlling the weather. I covered this a little bit last week, but it's worth adding more context to again, because someone out there voted for this nut job. Marjorie Taylor Greene spread the idea that the U.S. government controls the weather. Crazier part now is it's now been confirmed that 38 meteorologists, these are your weathermen who work for different news outlets, newspapers, television, radio stations, whatever where they might find their employment, or all the above. 38 have now, since she put out that statement that the U.S. government controls the weather, 38 of them have received death threats. In 4 of those 38, they have now made an arrest of an individual who sent the threat in to the meteorologist because they believe that the government is controlling the weather. The real ramifications for saying stupid shit like that, like she said, and I don't give a shit if you're a Republican or Democrat, independent, Nazi, or whatever you are. I don't care what party you belong to, but saying that the U.S. government is controlling the weather, and not thinking that there's going to be any ramifications or backlash from that is just crazy. 38 people who do not deserve to have a death threat or someone take their life so meaninglessly that they would be willing to kill them or threaten them or make them worry about doing their jobs or reporting their jobs. 38 have now received death threats because of one crazy comment by one individual who has been elected by the people out there. I'm sorry, that's nuts. Next, did you know that the rarest weather event ever recorded happened the first time in 1906, then 1947, and lastly in 2022? What was it? A tornado that struck Antarctica that spawned lightning storms and freezing rain for days. Tornadoes, as in general, you find here in America, on the North American continent, tornadoes normally need warm weather, cold fronts, and low pressure, not just frozen nothingness. These, again, 3 times in the history of man that we know of since we've been keeping track of weather and weather-related instances. And we go back all the way into like the 1300s, recording even further, recording weather, especially when it came to like rainfall for crops. But it can go back even farther than that. But we've been keeping track of like this day it rained, this day it was sunny, this day, stuff like that. But 3 times in history, 1906, 1947, and 2022, a tornado was found, and was seen in Antarctica. Now, I could not find any information if it actually made touchdown on land in Antarctica. All 3 of the articles that I read about this, weather event happening again in 1906, 1947, and in 2022, just said that there was a tornado and it spawned lightning storms and freezing rain for days. Each of them, not one individually, all 3 of them. But 3 times in the history since we've been keeping track of weather. Interesting, isn't it? Next, crazy sports story. Have you ever heard of chess boxing or chess boxing? However you want to, individually or one word. It's a hybrid sport that combines 2 traditional disciplines, chess and boxing. 2 combatants play alternating rounds of blitz chess and boxing until one wins by either checkmate or knockout. The reigning super heavyweight in this division of chess boxing is a man by the name of Alejandro. He is the reigning superweight in this division. He has defended his title twice as the super heavyweight in chess boxing. Oh, is this a limited sport that is only done in some stupid, little island, in the, off the coast of like, Taiwan? No. No, this sport is actually practiced and you can find it here in North America, the United States, and in Canada. You can find it in the UK, Ireland, Scotland, Netherlands, Iceland, just to name a few. I'm not going to read the entire list of the different places it's actually done. It's actually, additionally, the only place in the Southern Pacific Rim that I could find that it's actually practiced or is a normal sport continuously is in the Vietnam area, in the country of Vietnam. Chess boxing. So playing blitz rounds of chess, and you either win by checkmate or knockout. All right. If you enjoyed this comment or have feedback you would like to share, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. What is in blue there is a live link that you can click on now or later, and you can send me, feedback on, how you feel page two news is better or worse than it used to be, or if you have a story that you'd like to see covered as well. You can send that to the same email address. That is 411 now business, all one word, no spaces in there, at gmail.com. Again, if you have I should add that if you have a news story that you'd like me to, or case you'd like to see me cover on here, it may not be right away. I need to research the case, and just because you would like to see it done next week, please bear with with the idea that I get a lot of suggestions, not only here in the comment section, but I also see get a lot of emails with hey, there's a case out of my area of someone who's missing. Please send them. I may be able to, have other research that I'm already doing on that case. You never know. It could be next week, or it could be like a month from now. But 411 business at gmail.com. If you have feedback, or you just like to, tell me, how well I'm doing, if you like it or not, page two news. All right. Additional new thing is surveys and results and questions. The question of the week, you can either answer this in the actual comment section now, or you can answer it in the comments after the actual live stream. But do you believe non-mainstream crime news channels on YouTube report the facts accurately? A, yes. B, no. C, most of the time. Or D, never or slightly. This question is also posted on Facebook and on formerly known as Twitter X. And next week I will have the results of this. Again, if you want to throw me an email and answer it, in there at 41 now business, you can do the same. But the word news is in quotes there, because I do not consider most of the channels that report true crime as news channels. The creator themselves may consider themselves a news channel or doing newsworthy content, but when you add in your own bias and your political views on a subject matter, you're no longer reporting the news. You are reporting what you, again, like Edward R. Murrow said, you are stroking the ego of your audience for the views or for the money. You're doing it for probably both. So I don't consider them news channels, but they may. Again, is A, B, C, or D? All right. Again, there's no results from last week's poll, because this is the very first one on page two news. So next week we'll check back in on this one. We will see what the results are, for people who have either here in the comment section or afterwards have said which one they believe is the answer to the poll question. All right. This is how it works. This is fact or fiction, how it works. I will present you 3 stories widely reported as news from the internet. Each one has been reported or received at least 10,000 shares and likes. Your job, if you accept it, is only to find the real story, keeping in mind the other 2 stories are fake. There is no need to tell me which ones are fake. Just answer in the comment section 1, 2, or 3. Which one is real? News, real or fake? Story number 1. Los Angeles, California. The state Supreme Court will again hear oral arguments in the case if domesticated animals such as dogs and cats can sue their owners to be allowed to live free and choose where and when they will be sheltered and fed. Is this a real news story? Will the California Supreme Court be hearing oral arguments on if domesticated animals can sue their owners to be set free and choose when they are sheltered and when they are fed? Is this a real story, or the fake story? Story number 2. New York City, New York. A local artist and outspoken vegan has received a grant from the city to try and break the world's record for the largest tofu corn dog in June of 2025. The city of New York will be spending $132,900 on this attempt to break the world record, while at the same time there isn't enough money to add wheelchair ramps to all city and state offices. Is this the real story, or is this the fake story? Again, out of New York City, a local artist and outspoken vegan wants to break the world record for the world's largest tofu corn dog. Real or fake? Story number 3. Colorado. A nonprofit animal rights group is taking the fight to the state Supreme Court to have 4 elephants declared people, giving them the same rights as all citizens, thusly making it illegal to house them in a zoo of any form. They want all elephants to be emancipated and free to roam. Is this the real story or a fake story? Is it story number 1, story number 2, or story number 3? At the top in cursive, it says, people only ask questions when they're ready to hear the answers. That is a quote from John Livings. Is it story number 1, story number 2, or story number 3? Which one is real? Again, only one of those 3 stories is real. And I will give you a couple of minutes to think about it. Which one is real and which ones are fake. I only need to know which ones are real. Again, these are widely reported. Over 10,000 likes or shares. A lot of them, a lot more. Let's just say that one of them has 4.285 million shares. So that's almost 4,300,000, getting close to that. Of the fake stories, one of the fake stories has almost 4,300,000 shares and likes. Which one is real? Because I know that's wrong, but it's always what tricks my mind. Good evening or morning, wherever you are, and how are you doing? I'm so glad you're able to make it to this morning's live stream. This used to be called Coffee Brew Saturday Morning Crime Recap. It is now called Page 2 News. This is the very first episode. To anyone else I may have missed in this morning, I am sorry, but good morning and welcome to this morning's Crime Recap Show, Page 2 News. All right, which one of these stories is real? Story number 1, story number 2, or story number 3? The correct answer to which one is real is story number 3. Story number 3 is the real story. Ladies and gentlemen, this nonprofit animal rights group is taking it to the Supreme Court of the state of Colorado to have elephants declared as people so they can roam free, and it would be illegal to house them in any type of zoo or environment where they can't just walk down the street and crush your car, at any time. They want them to have the same rights as people. During the initial oral arguments on this case that have taken place, the Supreme Court wanted to know, where do we draw the line on, who has the same rights as a person? If we say elephants have the same rights as people, do we say that goats, sheep, chickens, goldfish. Where do we draw the line? And that is something that the Supreme Court is actually considering. I swear I am not joking. They are considering this and actually thinking about it and taking, more testimony on if elephants have the rights, the same rights as you and me. Should they be protected? Nobody's arguing that. Should they be chained by the ankle to a pole? No, nobody is in favor of that. But do they have the same rights as you and me? Now, I will give you the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court has already ruled that corporations, a company without a single individual, has the same rights as you and as me. That is not my decision. That is not my interpretation of their decision. That is exactly what the United States Supreme Court has ruled, that corporations have the same rights as you and me, and they are afforded the same protections as you and me. But story number 3, that is from the Associated Press. Upcoming trivia nights. For those who are interested and are here, that normally take part in trivia night, tomorrow night's trivia is Paul Bernardo is tomorrow night. The Invisible Hatred. Paul Bernardo is tomorrow night. And then the following Sunday on 11/17 of 24, trivia night is Durst. Robert Durst is the 17th. But again, tomorrow is on the 10th is Paul Bernardo. If you don't remember who Paul Bernardo is, that is the Ken and Barbie killer out of Canada. Paul Bernardo. Him and what was her name? Carla Holmes. I can speak. Carla. Paul and Carla is the trivia tomorrow night. All right. Thank you again, and stay safe out there. I skipped over this, but I'm scrolling back here because I wanted to bring this up. Yeah, harmless self promotion. But harmless self promotion. I was asked in the comment section twice in the last 2 weeks if I would drop a link to my merch store. These are just some of the items that are in the merch store that I have. But again, I posted it on social media, on Facebook and on Twitter, that everything has been discounted deeply for the rest of 2024. There's more than enough time still to, if you want to get a coffee mug or T-shirt or die cut sticker, which I understand the die cut stickers are expensive. I don't set the price on it other than what they tell me what the minimum is, and I can set the price to make a profit off it. The die cut stickers, I'm not joking, are almost $7 a piece before shipping. I make exactly 9 cents on every single sticker that's sold. Additionally, there is the Trivia Night T-shirt that has the Trivia Night logo that you've all seen at the beginning of every Trivia Night. That's on the back of the T-shirt, and on the front it just says 411 now. But those are on there as well. And again, the shipping rates are set by your location, how far you are from them. Internationally, they ship worldwide. And all of the T-shirts and stuff come in sizes all the way up to a 5XXL. No, I do not sell toddler or onesies. That was another question that I got recently. I don't set the prices for them. I wish I could make them cheaper. I mean, I know of a guy, and I do have it. I know him personally. He's the owner of a company that does screen printing, and he can make me stickers. I can get them for as low as $3 a piece, about half price of what of the die cut stickers with the same quality of vinyl. But then in that situation, I'm responsible for shipping all of them out as people, and I'd have to set up the payment process and everything else. So thank you, Interpeas. I appreciate that. And I've done it before with coffee mugs, hats. Um, what else did I do? So I had hats, coffee mugs. Oh, I did a round of t-shirts about 6 years ago. White t-shirts. They only came in white, but they were done at a local, silk screening company. So yeah, but when it comes to people look at the stuff that's on in the merch store, I am by far the cheapest. Even before I slashed the prices now, for the goods, the t-shirts, mugs, and hats and stuff. Even before then, I was by far out of everybody I know who has a merch store. It was in this genre. I was $4 to $5 cheaper even then. And then now, I mean, I'm by far the cheapest. If you can get, a T-shirt for $22 for a creator and who's only making like $1 off of that item, that's a pretty good deal. Um, that's what my profit is off of the shirt, $1. It's actually $1.02 to be exact. But internationally, I take a loss on every shirt, mug, hat, sticker that is shipped internationally. I have two of your law enforcement shirt, Lives Matter. That's cool. Thank you, Gayla, for buying them back then. I actually saw a lady wearing a 401 Now shirt at the farmer's market in Wisconsin, and you had a chat with her in Pippadoc. Good morning. Well, that's cool. I think in over the years, Pippadoc, I probably have done 10, 10 different T-shirts at least. Um, Now, where Gala is talking about for law enforcement, I did one round that was for the young cadets. I didn't get any of the money from that. That was 100% of that money went to, if it was the Blue Lives Matter. I don't know if you have that one, Gala. That one. But the Blue Lives Matter one, that one, 100% of that went to the cadets. And I did a uh, Bork Bork that was for dogs, law enforcement animals, dogs. But they don't have, they don't have pursuit chickens. So I have never seen one of my shirts in the wild, out in the wild, on someone. I've seen one of my shirts on an actual creator, and I don't know if she had actually purchased it from me. She wasn't in the true crime, genre at all, and I think it was a friend of mine who actually sent me the link. He's like, "You got to see this video," and I watched the entire video, and I had no idea because 90% of the shirts just on like one side, over the lapel area, it just has the channel name, and most of them, have something on the back or, I try not to put a lot of flashy stuff on shirts. Blue Lives Matter. Well, thank you again, Gayla. But again, and I watched that entire video, and I didn't even realize that the lady was wearing one of my shirts. I was just like, oh my gosh! And until they point, I was like, why did you send me this link? They're like, did you see it? And I'm like, did I see what? I'm thinking, oh my God, was there something in the background that I missed? Did somebody moon someone, or what was going on? But it was one of the first ones that had the Lady Justice on it with the scale. I used to do those yearly. until they stopped selling the soft comfort shirts. They now sell them again, and that's the only reason why I'm still with with Spring. I'm hoping to after the new year to if I can get enough support and steamroll that I can get together with Bunker Branding. That's Matt Carricker's uh, merch supply. He does all the printing, shipping, and everything distribution from his warehouse and place in Texas. But he has like the YouTube channel Off the Ranch. Off the Ranch. Then there is Demolition Ranch. Those are the two main ones. He also has a veterinarian channel because he's a veterinarian by trade, but he also owns a merch, supply company. Good morning, Lemon Pie. Welcome to this morning's page 2, formerly known as Coffee Brew. Oh, I've definitely seen you. Almost said your name. Something to talk about. I've definitely seen you with my shirt. Yes. I've had a lot of great support over the years when it comes to merch, and I really do appreciate anybody who buys anything and everything because it does help keep this alive and helps me keep up with the replacement of equipment because regardless of people believe it or not, you can't do this for free. The electricity and everything I pay for with what I get from ad revenue. And I know it drives people nuts. Hey, why are there ads? I don't know. Skip. I'm going with an ad blocker. Well, you go with an ad blocker, you're giving 100% of your revenue just directly to YouTube or Facebook or Discord or Twitch or whatever site you may be watching it on when you do that, because you're the ad. Then they take your combined data from your from you watching, and they package it and then sell it off. And you all you're doing is just cutting the creator out of the revenue stream by using an ad blocker. Or where you're like, I have YouTube Premium. Yay! I have YouTube Premium, but I don't. When I watch the channels that I subscribe to, I make damn sure that I don't have. I watch it on a device that doesn't have YouTube Premium on it. Happy Veterans Day. Well, thank you, Francie. Thank you again to everyone else out there, that serve, and that goes for those who didn't necessarily serve in the military. For all my frontline supporters, in law enforcement, healthcare, you all deserve just as much of appreciation as everybody else. Because if without you, and doing your part to keep society moving and safe, we wouldn't have the society that we have. Even when now after the election, people think it's all going to shit. There are people out there that believe one way or the other. Okay. We have to understand that. The ads are only like 3 seconds, usually, if you get one. Yeah. Veterans Day and the Marine Corps birthday is coming up. Hoorah to all my fellow Marines out there. Thank you, Interpeas. Thank you, Kitty. Just think if we didn't have Gayla or Gayla's husband out there doing, Gayla's retired, but if her husband wasn't out there keeping, society, safe and moving forward, and Gayla wasn't there doing her job, that'd be, turmoil. Just think about what everybody does. It's not just those who served, abroad. There are a lot of people who served in the military who never go abroad. Everyone deserves to be thanked for for their contribution to their community and their country and to God. Will, Gala, Will. Thank you, Pippadot. A lot of people need a lot more thanks than just me, but I appreciate it all the same. We do things, I mean, I don't know if I ever told anybody, I'm pretty sure I have, how I ended up getting into the military in the first place. And it's something I kicked around when I was younger, thought about, joining. And one day I was living in Linwood, Washington. That's an actual place, Linwood, Washington. It's a suburb of Seattle. But I'm standing there in the rainstorm at a bus stop because my car was in the shop, and the shelter only has one entrance and one exit. It's the same thing, same little thing. It's like you got three walls around it and a partial front, that faces the street. There's no way to get in from underneath it because it goes all the way to the ground except plastic walls all the way down to the ground except for maybe 2 inches. So you could probably get a gerbil underneath the wall, but you can't. We ain't gonna get no damn human through it. I walked in there. I stood there in this shelter for a while, waiting for the bus to come, and I swear to God, I have no idea where this man came from, but I heard a voice and behind me say something, like waiting for the bus too. The bus should be here soon. I can't read something along that line. And I turned around, and it was a recruiter for the United States Marine Corps standing there in a trench coat, and I'm like, where in the living hell did you come from? He didn't walk in past me. He wasn't there when I walked into that shelter. But he appeared behind me, standing there about 3 feet from me. And he's like, you ever thought about the Marine Corps? I'm like, yeah, I have. I'm like, small talk, led to, conversation. I said, okay, let's go. Let's just go. I hated my life. I hated my wife. I hated everything that was, going on in my life. And I figured, what the hell? Why not? So I left a 6-figure job and joined the United States Marine Corps and got shot at for fucking pennies. There's a lot more to the story than that. But that's like, the boiled down, like Cliff Notes version of it. It was your pleasure to serve your community. All the same. Again, thank you. Go make that hubby some cookies. I'm sure he would love some snickerdoodles. Snickerdoodles for everybody. The cookies are good, but the cooking part is questionable. Yeah, kitty coo. It doesn't quite fit in on this channel though. That's the problem. I mean, I'm an open book. What you see is who I am. I'm not fake, and I don't have a backstory that is well. I don't think it's interesting, but a lot of people do for some reason. My friend has always told me that I've lived the life of 10 men in the span of mine. I have done a lot in my life, and I will continue to do a lot more that surprise people. But it doesn't quite fit into the crime, genre. And people get upset when I have shared and put the content out that wasn't, and all I do is get backlash from it all. Nobody wants to hear it. Well, people want to hear it. They just don't want to hear it on this channel. Maybe like I said, someday maybe I'll tell my story and I'll put it on CDXI, which is the Roman numerals for 411. Maybe someday I'll put it on that channel. CDXI now. one of the many channels that that we have that I'll eventually get back to. Hopefully, come December, we're gonna be back on the Taco Podcast, and that once we put up the first video on the Taco Podcast, people are going to understand exactly why we've taken such a long hiatus from posting anything. Close to 7 months now since we posted anything on the Taco Podcast. But it'll all become very relevant once we post the first video. And we have like 12 videos now, I think it is, for that have already been uploaded and they're just sitting there. But the first one that we're going to do is we're either going to do a premiere or a live stream on the Taco Podcast before we come back, and then we'll release the rest of the videos we've shot thereafter. CDXI, the same thing pretty much there. I've got probably 4 or 5 different videos that have been uploaded that are just sitting there that I've never gotten around to releasing. You never fake? Well, no. I never understood that. There are a lot of people out there that broken justice. If you met some of these people in real life, these channel creators that are out there, especially those, and I can only speak about those who I know and have met personally, that are in the true crime genre. If you met them in real life and you got to know them, you would never want to have anything to do with them. They're as fake as a $3 bill. The image that they put across on their channel, who they are, what their interests are, how they treat people is completely different from and what the persona that everybody has about them. And that sucks, because I've met some people who are in this genre that are online, in content. They seem like they're great, individuals. They're down home, or whatever might be. But in the background, as soon as the camera is turned off, they are stabbing everyone in the back. They are doing anything and everything to undermine their community. And they spend all this energy, on doing that, instead of trying to embrace or pay attention to what they're actually doing. They do this entire different thing, on the side, and that's who they really are. Now, there are some really great ones out there, like Ed Wallace, Duty Ron. There is what you see is what you get. That is exactly who they are in real life. And I wouldn't communicate with these people if I didn't believe so. And I certainly wouldn't call them, my friends if I believed even for a second that they weren't. I've only met 2 famous ones, both unreal, fake, and did not watch them ever again. Sprinkle does, sure. Yeah, that's true. Pip it up. I have probably, in the true crime genre, 6 or 7 is how many I've met, and about half of them fake as you can get. Those you sure can, and I'll send a special prayer request out. That the April showers bring flowers. She'll say a prayer. I missed the context of that. Yeah. But just remember, just because they have a number or they have a plaque on the wall that says that they've been, recognized by YouTube, it doesn't mean anything. Just like, if you want to start your own YouTube channel and you want to do something, remember, just be you and talk about what, and do content about what you're interested in. You have a voice. You have the right to be on YouTube and to make content as well. But don't ever, and I mean don't ever, place your value and your importance to the world by a number next to your view count or a number next to your actual subscriber count. I see so many people who go down that road. They start a YouTube channel or a TikTok or whatever, and they never gain any traction, as they call it. I only have 250 subscribers. So that's 250 people who are watching you. How many more, do you know in your real life? Could you find 250 people and gather them at your house tomorrow to watch you talk about something? No, but you can on the internet. It's not about, and people put their value in this stuff. And it's really, really terrible, especially when it comes to teenage girls. And anybody who's out there who has a child who's on, a teenager that is on TikTok, Instagram, and all his other, things. I feel bad for you. I really do. Because they never look up from this phone anymore, and they're missing everything in life because it's what's right here in front of them. What they're doing this all day long, looking for that good lighting, so they can make the next TikTok or Instagram reel. I swear I was going to say exactly the same thing. Little man, in name of Taco Podcast. Will, did you see the idea that brilliant? Both Gail and I thought of it at the same time. I'm gonna have to scroll up about 1 second. I'm seeing the end of it. Uh, it is. It is an addiction. Gayla. They're told, and the idea is pushed to them constantly, and for a large extent, my son, who's 8 years old, he makes videos, and boy is he good at it. I actually sit behind him while he's at his desk, editing videos and making content. And I sit there and I'm just in awe how he picked it up and how he's able to do some of the things. And it's kind of like watching my own tutorial, video, but it's right there live in front of me. Call it Little Man's Taco Podcast. I don't care if I have 10, I'll be here for just me and 411 Remember. And I will be here to watch your content, Broken Justice. Everybody has a view, and that's the thing. It's not only a view, but your life experience. Bring your life experience into it, your take and how you see things and how they've affected your life. You can't go wrong. And even if nobody watches again, or if they don't give you enough thumbs up on the content, or they ever financially support you with a super chat or buying a t-shirt, even if none of that ever happens, do it for yourself. And as long as you do something content wise that you really enjoy, is it really something you don't want to go back and watch later? I mean, think about it. It's like, I had a bookstore for so many years, and I love to read. So I would, if I went wrong and I went bankrupt, look, I have thousands of books I can pick up and read tomorrow because it's something that it's always interested me. It was always something there for me. It's the same thing with making digital content. I'm really worried about him, or they have no skills, like the computer went down. There's no more phones. What would they do if there was no more grocery stores? How would they plant to feed themselves? I tried to scroll up, Pippadot, but every time I scroll up, it keeps on jumping as more and more comments come in. Let's scroll up. Will Pip and I think that Taco Podcast might get more views because some people think it's a cooking channel. I think Taco Podcast might get more views. That there definitely is that. We've definitely mixed some content and given the wrong message out to people over the years. But like everything in life, you have to progress and move forward. Just like this is now page 2, as opposed to the coffee brew recap show. I'm trying to add more to it, and based upon feedback that I've gotten over the last couple of years. Yeah, change is slow and coming, but I'm getting there. I gotta change with as people what they want, what the viewership wants. So books open up the imagination. That is true. Sprinkle Dawn says books are amazing. Yes. I don't know if I'd ever make the taco podcast into a cooking channel, per se, and that would be the only content. That's just not my lane, I guess, of interest. But we've added things, that are more beneficial. Maybe they're not, on the internet as in like, oh, people are interested in that. Well, like the cooking things that we've done about food saver prep, and ideas for different plates and stuff like that that is on the Taco Podcast. We share those things out within our community, especially in the autism community, and it's helped a lot of parents immensely, in that aspect, because they didn't realize some of these things were out there that they could, hey, well, that's a good idea, maybe their kids have issues like ours does with food that touches other food, and compartmentalized trays and plates and stuff like that. Little Man's podcast. I don't. We may eventually, Gala, drop the podcast altogether, because that's a holdover from when we used to actually. It was 100% a real podcast. It was just audio, had no video at all, and we used to be on SoundCloud. But the name was Taco Podcast when we were on SoundCloud, and then we moved it over to YouTube, and that's always been the hard part is the audio, the video and audio for it, because it's me and my wife. So and that's why when it was just a podcast episode, we could sit down and we could record it sitting at the dining room table, and it didn't matter if our son was running around in the background in just his underwear. That didn't matter because you couldn't see it. It was just audio only. So we could bump out episodes 2, 3 a week, for SoundCloud back then. And then when we had to move it into the studio, that's where the issues came up. It'll become very clear when we do the next episode on there. "6 years, but not long enough, Broken Justice. Wish I would have met you a lot sooner than 6 years ago. I think it would have been beneficial for us both." Oh yeah, Broken Justice, I definitely can. I went to culinary school. One of my, previous incarnations in life. I never graduated from culinary school, but I went to culinary school. Culinary school, and I've worked in dozens of different types of restaurants. I've never worked in fast food. Have no idea how fast food works. I can put it together if somebody said threw me to the wolves and said, take care of this place, I could. Maybe Crystal could talk about the honeybees. Yeah, yeah. Well, or I could, because Crystal is in her peas. This is going to be a surprise to you, but it shouldn't be. But my wife is the idea person. She's the idea person, and I am the physical labor. I am the person who actually takes care of the bees. I'm the one who, well, takes care of the hives. I then spin the honey down. I'm the one who packages it, and I'm allergic to bees. You guys want to see our newest addition to the honeybees? 1 second. That is a frame full of honey. They're sitting in the refrigerator right now until I get a chance to spin them down. This is heavy as crud. I don't have a scale right here, but I would say this is probably um, probably about 10 pounds of just honey, both sides. Now my fingers are all sticky. I am the worker bee. Yeah. Does Crystal give the honey do list? Da-da-da-da. That's what we actually call it. It's actually on our refrigerator. It is called the honey do list of all the different projects and things that I need to do, things that are broken, and so on. But yeah, Crystal is she's the idea person. I'm the actual labor. When it comes to a lot of this stuff. You love the honeybees? Wouldn't people don't understand, and realize just how much honeybees, if we didn't have honeybees around, how much the food supply around the world would collapse. Just look at what they've had to do in Japan, in a lot of the Southern Pacific Rim nations to pollinate their crops, apples, pears. They have to hire people, individuals, who come in with little feather duster and pollinate each and every single bud on the tree. No wonder why an apple costs, the equivalent of like $3 in those countries. I mean, it depends upon the currency, yen or whatever they might be, their actual currency is, but it's equivalent to $3 for an apple. Just a regular apple, not an Asian pear, not these unique ones that they package, in bubble wrap and display and sell for thousands of dollars, but just a regular one in the grocery store costs about $3 because they've used so many pesticides, they've killed off their native pollinators. California bees are so much needed for agriculture. Same here, Gala. Same here. And we have hives that here that I move them, and then I have another company that comes and moves the actual hives from orchard to orchard during the summertime for pollinating in the early fall. The frame I just showed, that one is so there's a queen. Queen is extruded from the rest of the hive, but those are the frames like the workers, who make the actual honeybee, honey itself. That those ones are extra, so they're five stack high. So I don't have a honey box to show you in here, but I have a whole bunch of them that are not put together. Mr. Garlic Man, good morning. How are you doing, Mr. Garlic Man? California has hives transported here from all over the country. They've been getting stolen. Big problem. Ooh, boy, I have never run into that. The worst thing that we've ever encountered here, Gala, is they're called mites, and we have to dust for mites. Usually once or twice a year. And they get into the hive, and the mites themselves will eat the larvae of the new bees. But you know, but we have to dust them twice. Usually about twice a year. But I've never had any of my hives stolen. Without giving out a geographic location of where my hives are, we have one location has six. There are five hive boxes plus the queen, and so that would actually be six. But we have six of them, six stacks at one location. Another location, it's about 8 miles away from that. We've got four triple stacks, so it's three hive boxes and then the queen. So, but we moved them around for different, depending on what is needed in the area for pollination. A lot of it is for apples is a large one. Um, we don't do too many pear orchards. Not too many of them left. The pear market is pretty much tanked, at least in our area. Filled with nuts and hives, and it gets stolen. Law enforcement, special units, trying to stop it. Wow. Well, I hope the hell they don't come here. We've been getting a lot of the roving, traveling, shoplifting gangs that have come from California. These gangs of people, they're male, female, mixture of it all, 2 men, 3 men, or 3 women, but they come in and they'll hit like a retailer and they'll steal thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And a lot of it you'll see pop up, on a secondary market. But did you know some bees will go to another hive and kill the queen and take over the hive from other beehives? Um, okay, Mr. Garlic Man. Now, you can have a mutiny. They actually we have a term for that. You can call it a absconding from the hive. That is where you would then see a swarm that'll attach themselves in the tree over a queen. Um, they'll kick a queen out if she's not productive or from the hive. That happens. And then they'll instill another queen in her place. There are when it comes to like another species of bee itself, like honeybee, you have your Asians and you have your Russians. You have your mixture of different types of bees that are honeybees. You will have issues with one variety of honeybee that will take over and kind of what you're alluding to there, of another hive. If the one hive has got more resources than another, mafia bees. There's a lot of things in the insect world like that people don't realize. But you like to see that on court TV, I hope they do it. Well, we in this area where I live, Gala, we've been we've been getting hit pretty damn hard. Oh, sorry. It's come to the point where a lot of not smaller independent mom and pop shops, but even hitting like medium to large retailers like your Home Depots and um, yeah, who was it? The one that got hit last week, um, Factory Outlet, and Burlington Coat Factory got hit last week. Why are they going to these places? But they do anyways. And they, you get one individual goes in, steals a couple thousand, another one goes in, steals a couple thousand, another one steals a couple thousand, and you find out later on that there are 8 or 9 of them that have been, hit in this store. You can't take it, as a retailer. Yeah, you lose $9,000 worth of, or $10,000 worth of, merchandise. What do? You can put it on lock and key, but then people can't access it, and that causes you have to hire more staff to, to protect your own, your assets that you're trying to sell. Drives people out of business. They can't take that loss. When I was little, a yellow jacket attacked me. I almost had 100 bites. It made me allergic, believe it or not. Oh, I believe it. I've heard of certain people that have had gone into anaphylactic shock from hornets, yellow jackets, bees. You almost died from those bites. You were in the 4th grade. I was probably around that age, 4th grade. No, I was younger than that. Probably 2nd grade, when they found out that I was allergic to bees. Didn't know. Nobody knew. And they were hoping eventually I would grow out of it. A lot of people do, especially if you're allergic when you're younger. By the time you become, go through, pubescence, that you go through puberty, that you'll actually, a lot of people will outgrow an issue with bees, allergic, reaction to bee stings itself, but not me. But my father was a carpenter and farmer, but he was actually, we got invited to a like barbecue thing. And this is back when they had, some of you will remember this, some of you will have no idea what I'm talking about here. They used to have beer cans and soda cans that had a pull tab on them, on the tops of them. Some of us will remember those. Some of you, have no idea what the hell that is. But they had a pull tab on the top of them. Well, the other kids who were at this barbecue, they had big trash cans full of soda and beer and stuff like that. And some of these kids were drinking some of it, and like, ew, yuck, and they threw it back into the barrel. Well, how they found out I was allergic to bees is I opened up the top of the thing to reach in to grab a soda, and there were hundreds of pissed off bees in the damn thing, and they stung me all up and down one side of my body. Ended up in the hospital. Went into anaphylactic shock, and they're like, well, maybe it was just because of the sheer amount of bee stings. And then a couple summers later, I was out fishing along the river and I got stung again, and that wasn't good. Eyes swelled up, hard to breathe, with like shortness of breath, and my throat felt like it was being constricted. Reminds me of a woman who is pregnant. Please be careful going outside and near bees or wasps. A pregnant woman's heart rate is faster and can make bees attracted to the pregnant woman. I did not know that, Garlic Man. That's very good information. I did not know that. But yeah, bees are needed. We all need them. But without them, you'd be surprised just how many different parts of the entire ecosystem that relies upon pollinators would collapse in pretty rapid succession. But well, ladies and gentlemen, I need to wrap up this morning's page 2 crime recap show there. Again, if you enjoyed the first episode of page 2, give it a thumbs up. The email address, again, I'll tell you in person, here by voice, is 411nowbusiness@gmail.com. If you have feedback or something you'd like to see, covered in a future episode, drop me an email. Fire me off an email and tell me what, how you liked it, or if you didn't like it. I'm open to hearing both. You can't grow and you can't get any better at something if you don't, have constructive criticism to go from. You don't want to tell me to go, F off. I mean, you can say that if you want. I'll just block your email. But I will see you all again tomorrow night for trivia night. Again, tomorrow night we are covering Paul Bernardo. He is the Canadian serial killer who, along with his wife, Carla, were known as the Barbie and Ken killers. And tomorrow night's trivia is at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That is 7 o'clock on the East Coast of the United States. But I hope to see you for trivia night. In the meantime, everyone, you take care. Bye.